Summary of the novel, Of Mice and Men. Author, John Steinbeck. Chapter 1, The Dream and the Journey. George Milton and Lennie Small, two itinerant workers during the Great Depression, travel together to a new ranch in Soledad, California, seeking employment. Lennie, large and powerful but with a childlike mind, often causes trouble due to his inability to control his instincts. George, small and sharp-witted, looks after Lennie like a brother, both protecting him and growing weary of the responsibility. They had to flee the town of Weed after an incident. Lennie, drawn to soft things, touched a girl's dress to feel its fabric, causing her to panic and scream. Misunderstood as an attempted assault, the incident forced them to escape in the night from an angry mob. This event highlights the danger of Lennie's innocence combined with his strength. George and Lennie share a dream of owning their own land, where Lennie can raise rabbits and live peacefully, free from being chased away. This dream, a symbol of the American dream, is a fragile hope in their harsh reality. Lennie is captivated by the idea of raising rabbits, constantly mentioning them as a symbol of safety and happiness. Whenever Lennie is anxious, George recounts the dream, his voice steady like a lullaby, comforting them both. The scene of them sitting by the river under the shade of trees, discussing their future, reflects the contrast between their illusions and the cruel reality. In an unstable world, the dream is their spiritual refuge. Chapter 2, The New Ranch and Lonely Souls. At the Soledad Ranch, George and Lennie meet other workers: Slim, the calm, wise mule driver with natural moral authority, respected as a voice of reason; Carlson, blunt and pragmatic; Candy, an old man with a missing hand, living in solitude; Crooks, a black man segregated in the stable due to racism; and Curly, the boss's aggressive, jealous son who picks fights with Lennie. Curly's wife, a young, unnamed woman, often wanders around the ranch, seeking conversation and perceived as flirtatious and troublemaking. Her loneliness in a stifling marriage with Curly and her desire for attention drive her to dangerous behavior. Her lack of a name reflects her anonymity and marginalization in a patriarchal society. George warns Lennie to stay away from Curly's wife to avoid trouble, but Lennie, though trying to obey, struggles to resist his instincts when faced with enticing things. His innocence, in a tense environment, is a latent danger, keeping George constantly vigilant, anticipating potential problems. Candy is deeply attached to his old, crippled dog, his only companion in a lonely life. When Carlson insists on killing the dog for being old and foul-smelling, Candy resists but is powerless. Slim, with empathy, agrees that death is more humane, and Carlson shoots the dog. Candy turns away, eyes filled with tears, embodying loss and helplessness. This event serves as a metaphor for the fate of those no longer valued in a ruthless society, foreshadowing Lennie's tragedy. The atmosphere in the ranch grows heavy, reflecting the fragility of human connections among society's outcasts. Chapter 3, Flickers of Hope. After a day's work, Slim and George talk intimately in the bunkhouse. Slim's rare understanding and neutral observation, with his ability to see through people, prompts George to open up. He shares their past. Growing up with Lennie, George once mocked him, but after Lennie nearly drowned following his instructions, George felt remorse and took on protecting Lennie as a moral duty. Candy, overhearing George and Lennie discuss their land, offers his entire savings to join their dream. For the first time, the dream feels achievable, sparking fragile hope. George agrees, insisting on secrecy, and the three excitedly envision a life of freedom. Lennie beams, repeating his refrain, "And I'll raise rabbits," with an innocent smile. Crooks, overhearing, is stirred by the idea of a place without discrimination, though he hesitates to express it. This moment shows the dream's power to unite society's outcasts, if only briefly, igniting faith in a better life. However, Curly picks a fight with Lennie, jealous over suspicions that Lennie is eyeing his wife. Provoked, Lennie, scared but following George's orders, grabs Curly's hand, crushing it until Curly screams in pain. Slim, with his authority, demands Curly's silence to save face. Candy fears the incident will expose their plan. The conflict makes the ranch workers view Lennie with curiosity and caution, highlighting the danger of his uncontrolled strength. A tense atmosphere looms, signaling bigger troubles ahead, threatening their fragile dream. Chapter 4: Rejection and a Smothered Dream. While George is out with the other workers, Lennie visits the stable where Crooks lives, isolated due to his race. Crooks, deeply scarred by racism, is initially defensive and bitter, but Lennie's innocence and Crooks' own loneliness soften him. He admits his longing to belong somewhere without contempt. Candy arrives, discussing the land plan, igniting a spark of hope in Crooks. He tentatively offers to join, briefly allowing himself to dream of an equal life. This rare moment, with Lennie, Candy, and Crooks imagining the land together, symbolizes unity among society's rejected. However, Curly's wife enters, using her racial privilege to threaten Crooks, saying she could have him lynched. This chilling threat, in the context of racism, forces Crooks, despite his education, to retreat in fear. She mocks Lennie and Candy, shattering the moment of unity. Crooks bitterly withdraws his offer, closing himself off completely, rejecting any hope for a better life. His utter powerlessness against societal prejudice underscores the brutality of racism. The dream, just kindled, is smothered by harsh reality. Chapter 5: An Inevitable Tragedy. In the barn, Lennie sits alone, trembling as he holds the body of a puppy he accidentally killed by squeezing too hard. He panics, fearing George's anger and the loss of his chance to raise rabbits. The fear of losing the dream, the only thing giving him purpose, leaves Lennie increasingly anxious and desperate. Curly's wife enters, noticing Lennie's distress and showing sympathy. She shares her shattered dream of becoming an actress, stifled by her oppressive life and unhappy marriage to Curly. Her loneliness, mirroring that of the other characters, drives her to seek connection, despite the risks. She lets Lennie stroke her hair, knowing he likes soft things. When Lennie grips too tightly and she screams, he panics, covers her mouth, and accidentally suffocates her to death. Realizing the horror, Lennie flees to the river, the hiding spot George told him to go to if trouble arose. Curly's wife's body is discovered, plunging the ranch into chaos. Curly vows revenge, rallying the men with guns, dogs, and ropes to hunt Lennie. Candy bitterly realizes the dream is shattered, blaming George like a helpless father facing fate. A sense of despair looms, signaling an unavoidable tragedy. Chapter 6: A Painful End and Release. At the river, Lennie hides, overwhelmed by fear and confusion. In his mind, he sees hallucinations, a giant rabbit scolding him that he'll never raise rabbits for causing trouble, and his late Aunt Clara berating him for burdening George. These visions reflect Lennie's torment and vague awareness of the trouble he causes, along with his fear of losing the dream. George appears, holding Carlson's gun. Lennie is overjoyed, believing George isn't angry, and begs him to recount the dream of the land and rabbits. George tells the story, his voice trembling, as if clinging to the final moment of their deep friendship, in indescribable pain. As Lennie listens, entranced, George, torn between friendship and duty, shoots Lennie in the back of the head. This painful act protects Lennie from Curly's cruel torture. In pulling the trigger, George loses not only Lennie but also the best part of his humanity, along with the hope and illusion of a better life. Slim, the only one who understands, places a hand on George's shoulder, saying, "You did the right thing." They walk away together, while Carlson and the others fail to grasp George's grief. Lennie's death ends a life and the dream of a better place, an unattainable illusion in the cruel world of the Great Depression.